Please tell me Mr. Ramos is not replacing me as Dr. Doom via Parker Robbins. Is there something you're not telling me?
Marvel, what are we doing? And I see now why they decided to release 3 episodes this week and 3 episodes next week, because nobody wants to sit week to week and wait for this. This show has terrible pacing. It's boring. It is very slow. It's a slow burn and it doesn't pick up at all. Even though you have 3 episodes to watch, it does not pick up.
Marvel just dropped its latest series on Disney Plus, Ironheart.
I'm not upgrading shit until you pay me some attention.
A brand new hero, high-tech suits, a touch of magic, and the massive weight of Iron Man's legacy. On paper, it sounded like a hit, but behind the scenes, the story is a lot messier. Shot back in 2022, delayed, pushed, rescheduled again, and now suddenly released in a quiet 2-week drop with almost zero fanfare. No hype, no major push, just dumped on the platform like a project they wanted to get out of the way. So what went wrong? Why does Ironheart, a series meant to kick off Marvel's next era, feel more like something they're trying to forget? And what exactly is hiding inside a show that nobody really asked for? Ironheart wasn't just delayed, it was a leftover. A survivor of Marvel's old playbook, back when their Disney Plus shows had no real showrunners, no clear vision, and no real plan beyond connect it to everything. Originally shot in 2022, the series was supposed to release in 2023, but then the studio hit the brakes multiple times. Meanwhile, other projects got scrapped entirely, like Armor Wars, which started as a movie, then became a series, then vanished. Quietly. But Ironheart? Somehow it made it through. Not because Marvel had big plans for it, but because it was already too far along to cancel. So they trimmed it down, pushed it to the side, and quietly slipped it onto the release schedule when no one was really looking. It's not just a delay story, it's a sign of something deeper. Marvel isn't just rethinking its strategy, it's trying to erase the evidence of what that strategy used to be. And Ironheart is one of the last ghosts of that era still standing. But if this show was born in chaos, it only gets messier from here. From the moment Riri Williams showed up in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Marvel made one thing clear. This girl was supposed to carry the torch, the next genius, the next armored hero, the one to pick up where Tony Stark left off. But here's the problem, no one can replace Iron Man. Every callback to Stark in Ironheart, whether it's the tech, the design, or the attitude, just reminds you of how iconic and untouchable Tony was. Instead of building something new, the show keeps pulling at an old thread that's already been cut. Riri is supposed to be her own person, a prodigy, a rebel, but Marvel keeps forcing her into a mold that was never meant to fit. You can feel it, the hesitation, like the writers weren't sure if they were telling her story or trying to recreate someone else's. Even the marketing leaned hard into that legacy. They brought out Robert Downey Jr. for promo.
Iron Man loves Ironheart.
That's so crazy.
Ryan Coogler was suddenly front and center, even though he didn't direct the show. It was like Marvel didn't trust Ironheart to stand on its own, so they wrapped it in nostalgia and hoped no one would notice the cracks. But nostalgia only works when there's something solid underneath. And that foundation, it's shaky at best, and just when you think you've got a grip on where Riri's headed, the story takes another unexpected turn. Riri Williams is smart, like really smart, MIT-level genius, building tech that rivals Stark with scraps and raw instinct. On paper, she's everything you'd want in a next-gen Marvel hero, sharp, independent, emotionally layered. But in the series, she's all over the place. Her motivations shift constantly. One moment she's a rebellious inventor trying to help people, the next she's selling her tech to the highest bidder. Is she building for justice or survival? Is she protecting her city or running from it? The show tries to give her emotional weight, especially with her family backstory and the trauma around her stepfather and best friend. But those moments are buried under half-baked subplots, awkward pacing, and scenes that feel like they were stitched together in post. And here's the frustrating part. Dominique Thorne delivers. She's magnetic. When the script gives her space, she brings depth, charm, and grit to the character. Just like Iman Vellani made us root for Ms. Marvel, Dominique could have done the same for Riri, but the writing never fully trusts her to lead. Instead of focusing on her growth, the show throws in side characters, criminal gangs, magical artifacts, and the result? A promising character drowned in noise. Just when you want to dig deeper into who Riri really is, the plot swerves somewhere else entirely, and where it swerves next, into a world even Iron Man never touched. Just when you think Ironheart is settling into a tech-driven, sci-fi groove, magic shows up, literally. Enter the Hood, a street-level criminal with a magical cloak that gives him supernatural powers. It's an unexpected twist, and honestly, it could have been bold. The blend of mysticism and technology isn't new to Marvel, but it's rarely this direct. Think Iron Man meets Doctor Strange, in theory, but here's the catch, it doesn't quite land. The concept has potential, but the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos, never becomes the threat he should be. His backstory is vague, his powers feel convenient, and that signature cloak looks more like something you'd find at a Halloween store than in a billion-dollar franchise. Instead of elevating the conflict, the magic element feels like it was thrown in to spice things up without fully committing. And that's a recurring theme throughout the show. Cool ideas drop before they ever get the chance to evolve. There's talk of dark forces, ancient relics, hidden truths, but none of it sticks. You keep waiting for a moment that ties it all together, and it never really comes. And when magic fails to hit, the story retreats to something even safer. Because if the plot won't carry the weight, maybe the ending will. By the time the finale rolls around, it's hard not to feel like Ironheart is just trying to check boxes. There's a flashy final battle, some unfinished business wrapped up, a few surprise cameos, and yes, the obligatory post-credit scene, but none of it feels earned. It's less a climax and more a corporate to-do list. Plot threads that should have been developed across the season get crammed into one or two rushed scenes. Emotional arcs are brushed aside to make room for setup, and the final twist feels more like a teaser for a different show than a payoff for this one. Even the release strategy, 2 batches of 3 episodes, dropped in under 2 weeks, makes it feel like Marvel was trying to just get it over with. No week-to-week buzz, no real campaign, just, here you go, next. And behind the scenes, it's telling. Marvel pushed producer Ryan Coogler to the front in promo, almost presenting him as the creator. Robert Downey Jr. was suddenly back to give his blessing, like they knew Ironheart needed a credibility boost, and fast. The message was clear, this series had to serve a purpose, not to tell a great story, but to keep the machine running. And when storytelling takes a backseat to strategy, fans can feel it. But even with all its flaws, Ironheart leaves behind a few threads Marvel might not be done with yet. For all its rushed pacing and mixed execution, Ironheart doesn't completely close the book. In fact, it quietly opens a few new ones. There are characters introduced in these 6 episodes, some subtle, some loud, that clearly weren't designed to be one and done. There's a deeper magic thread lurking in the background, hints of something older, darker, more connected to the supernatural side of the MCU. And while the series doesn't do much with it now, you can feel it. Marvel's planting seeds. It's the same strategy they've used before. Drop characters in shows with lukewarm reception, then repurpose them later when fans least expect it. Whether it's Young Avengers, Midnight Suns, or something else entirely, Riri's story isn't over, and neither is the Hood's. But here's the issue, none of that makes Ironheart feel better in the moment. You shouldn't have to wait for a different movie or a future crossover to feel like what you just watched mattered. That's the MCU's biggest problem right now. So much teasing, not enough payoff.
Holy sh!
And Ironheart becomes another piece of that puzzle. A show that exists more as a setup than a story. It wants to be part origin, part sequel, part teaser trailer, but in the end, it never fully commits to any of them. And that leaves us with one final question, the one Marvel doesn't want you asking. Why did this show even happen? That's the question no one at Marvel wants to answer. Not in interviews, not in press releases, not even in the story itself. Ironheart feels less like a passion project and more like something Marvel had already spent too much money on to cancel. It had to be released, not because it was ready, not because the audience demanded it, but because it was already sitting in the vault, half finished, too far into kill, and too broken to fix. There's no denying it, Riri Williams is a strong character. She deserves a great story. But this wasn't it. It's as if Marvel wanted her in the lineup, but didn't want to put in the work to build her properly. And that brings us to the uncomfortable truth. How many more shows like this are on the way? If Ironheart is any indication, Marvel is still caught between 2 eras, one where everything had to connect, and one where they're desperately trying to simplify. But in the middle, we get projects like this, confused, inconsistent, and easily forgotten. Marvel used to be about bold choices, about moments that stuck with you. Lately, it's been about staying on schedule, but fans are starting to notice. Ironheart had the potential to be something bold, a new kind of hero, a fusion of tech and magic, a fresh voice in a universe that desperately needs one. But instead, it became something else, a symptom of Marvel's bigger problem. It's not that fans don't want new characters, it's that they want them to matter. They want stories with purpose, risks, and identity, not just placeholders that exist to fill out a timeline. Riri Williams might still have a future in the MCU, but if she does, it'll be in spite of this show, not because of it. So now the real question is for you. Did Ironheart deserve more than what it got? Was it a hidden gem lost in the chaos, or just another project Marvel rushed out the door? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about what went wrong and what Marvel needs to fix before the next hero steps up. And if you're still watching the MCU, ask yourself this. Are you here for the stories or just out of habit? Because at some point, we all have to decide.